All right, call to order. Call to order, please. All right, we're going to start this meeting at 4:04 p.m. Confirmation of proof of 48-hour plus posted notice per the bylaws, section 5.7. Here's a copy of the email that I received on Tuesday, 11/5 at 5:30 p.m., which meets the requirements. Confirmation of a quorum of the board of directors is required by bylaws, section 5.4. I'm Ed Hughes. I'm the president. I am present.
Tony Pepinella, treasurer, present.
Mario Delgado, secretary. Ira Kerwin, vice president.
And that is 4:05. So, gentlemen, we have a quorum. And Colleen, thank you for being here. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everybody that came to observe. I just want to set the expectations. This is a board workshop. This is our opportunity to have a discussion about the upcoming budgets. There will be no decisions made today at this meeting. It's simply a workshop. You'll have the opportunity to hear us discuss and go through the pro forma. And at the end of it, once we are done with our discussions, anybody that wants to will have the opportunity for 3 minutes to speak. Having said that, I'm going to turn this over to Colleen and Tony.
Okay, I just wanted to explain to everybody how we developed the 2025 budget, what the process was. So it was similar to the 2024 budget in that we just took our trends and we populated that into 2025 as a starting point. Then we adjusted things for known contract changes and for some CPI increases on wage. Then we sent it out to the committee leads and asked for them to review the sections of the P&L that they were, kind of responsible for, with obviously property and grounds having the biggest part of it, and also asking them for their input on projects. What's their wish list for projects in 2025 that they would like to have the board consider for funding? So we took those updates. The biggest updates came from lifestyles and property and grounds for what they needed to satisfy the irrigation and sod requirements. And for lifestyles, they filled in for us the social and the food and beverage. And as you remember, those two things, we always have those net to zero. So it's a top line input and an expense. So we didn't have either of those in the original budget take. And that was the process that we went through and what Tony will speak to now.
Okay, so speaking to the schedules that were handed out to you a few minutes ago, it's in a format that's brand new. So why don't we just go through the format first so that we can then go into the various categories. What I did was I've broken everything out into what I felt were logical groups. So top line, you have assessment income, and then on the expense side, general and administrative, which is made up of wages, professional services, which is CPA and legal, insurance, depreciation, transition expense, which those should be none for next year, and then all other G&A expense, which is just a myriad of accounts that amount to those small amounts that you see. And the next section is contract services, those items where we've signed contracts and we're obligated to pay a certain amount for each month. Landscape and irrigation, security, pool maintenance, and HOA maintenance, which is principally the lifestyles management fee that we pay, and QPM. Then there's a line for utilities, which is all utilities. Repairs and maintenance, that's the ad hoc number, so it's as needed, as well as any remediation plans that we have for next year, bringing it down to total operating expense. I've broken as We don't, the assessment income, we don't see the usual numbers that we would collect each quarter. We seek spreadsheet, meaning what's the total expense? And then then to answer the question, what do we need to assess to bring overall the association to zero? Okay, so that's the approach that we have here. And at the very top line, we see that we have about $12.67 monthly per home in revenue that will come to us vis-a-vis the CDD reimbursing us for mowing the ponds. Also approximately 12,500 quarterly is forecast for the flip fees on new homes or homes as they're sold. And this is based only on what's listed in Realtor.com today. So the assumption was what's listed today, they're all going to close next year. And of course, some will come off, some will come on, but we think that overall it should pretty much land where it is. It might get higher. I think that's a conservative number. And that's at 2,500 apiece for the homes that are listed. And then we also get 5,000 annually from the community garden. So those three line items up above generate $12.67 in revenue, which is used to offset the expenses and which we've considered when determining what the assessment should be. Moving into the next general category of general administrative. We see that approximately $871,000 is budgeted for the year. That's $85.37 per house per month. And on a trend that is a 5.7% increase over 2024, and over a 3-year period, 23, 24, and 25, we see that that is wholly reasonable and is not untoward, actually. So it's a pretty good job in managing those expenses and our experience there, for that group. There were some on wages. We did have an increase in wages that is not explained by inflation. We have going to have an increase in headcount for part of 24. I got to think what year we're in. Part of 24 and all of 25, which was the assistant that we brought in for the LCAM. That position wasn't there for the full year. So on a percentage basis, wages look higher than inflation. And then we had an upgrade in the LCAM, and it cost us a little bit more money, but I think the early indications are that that's well worth it at this point. Yes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're looking at hiring Daniel full-time. Is that included in this wages, or is that broken out someplace else?
No, that's down below in it's part of all other maintenance. It's in that category. Okay. And that was not only Daniel, but it was also an addition. I was told an additional helper.
Yeah,
will be brought on
the proposal that we will have to eventually look at is Daniel full-time plus a lower
cost.
What's the right word I'm looking for? Lower
Entry
level
Yes.
position. And our strategy is to let the entry level position do the menial tasks like the dog stations,
Correct.
so that we can keep Daniel focused on the more skilled tasks that we need him to do.
Right. And we considered both of those in these numbers. Okay. So if we want to pull it out, we can pull it out, but they're both baked in here.
And have we spoken with his management company, everything, and those projections are reasonable?
Well, we're basing the numbers off of conversations with Ed, with P&G, during the budget discussions.
Okay.
So
my question is it what we're proposing here is it acceptable on their end?
Okay, and that's a question really to ask the P&G. Our job, and I think maybe.
No, about the maintenance, Daniel and whatever other
Right.
person. I know the other person is a projection, but Daniel is a known entity. So we need to know if that's acceptable to them.
The short answer is yes, it is. Here's something that'll be shared very soon.
Okay. And just a little commentary on how we put this together. It is not our job to challenge or question the numbers. It is our job to accumulate, assemble, and collate the numbers in a fashion that is acceptable under generally accepted accounting principles, and moreover, to ensure that what we do fulfills our fiduciary responsibilities to the association. That's the beginning, and those are our guardrails. Anything else beyond that, we will certainly challenge for reasonableness if we see numbers that are that don't make sense. But in terms of the assumptions or the ask, pretty much our assumption is that it's been mostly vetted before it even hits us. Okay. Moving down to contract service expense. That is the biggest single group of our budget. It's approximately 170. I'm sorry, go ahead. No, not at all. If you can do that.
I can't give it.
Okay, what you're calling professional services is our legal services and CPA.
Correct. Correct. Is just legal and CPA.
Just to confirm on that, you're estimating that's a 15.6% increase over last year.
Correct.
I'm looking on page 3.
Correct. Well, see, what it's kind of it doesn't present really what's really happening there, because in professional services you have half of the CPA fee being paid in June. We have the other half of the CPA fee for the 23 audit being paid upon conclusion. So we have that, and that we're assuming that that's going to happen. And then I'm sorry. And then for we did receive an increase in the CPA. We went from 11,000 to 14,000, and that's for that's all in next year. Now, under GAAP, typically we would accrue for that in the current year, not next year, because it applies to this year's financials. But we baked it into next year's budget under the assumption that next year we're going to see a similar sized expense. It's also a little higher than we had experienced. We were at $11,000, I believe, last year. It's a little higher this time because there's additional work that's required because of the transition. So they did perform an audit through September 27th. We're waiting on them to complete the stub period audit for 2023. And there's been a little bit of a challenge for them with the stub period, because at the time that they would walk in and do the sub period and also do their post-effective testing, typically an audit firm will look at activity up to the date that they sign off on the financials, which they haven't signed off yet, to see if any of that has to get pulled back into 23 and make an accrual for it. So things that we paid in 24, they perform a test to see if it belongs really in 23. And unfortunately, they have not been able to do that because of our transition from Rosetta to QPM and the issues that, we've been having with Vanica. So, but we hope to have that concluded soon. I had a conversation with Frank earlier today, and he assured me that at this point, the audit portal is open. They have access to the information, and it should be in a format that they can use. I haven't heard anything back from the auditors. Okay.
One more question on the professional services. So you drew down transition expenses all the way down to 0. We're assuming that all our legal fees for all the 558s and everything that we have will be now will be rolled up into professional services.
Yes.
So you're basically taking any transition costs that we're going to have
Right.
with
The 558s.
trying to get the 558s, trying to bring resolution on that. because, depending on how Pulte responds,
Mhm.
that could still be very costly to us.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. And then we can make a decision at some point in time to break that out.
Okay.
Okay.
But I know that once we can actually keep Pulte on the clock,
Mhm.
things should start progressing. At least that's our hope.
We hope.
But there's going to be a lot of legal fees associated with that.
Okay.
So,
The next group, contract services, and that includes Rainmaker. It includes Envira. It includes a pool maintenance contract, and it includes QPM. So those four are the single biggest grouping, the single biggest expense of the association, of $1,783,000 total, $1,200,000 of it, which is landscaping, grass cutting, or what have you, which amounts to about $174.89 monthly per house. And that is actually consistent. It is actually slightly lower than we had experienced in prior periods, or because there were some offsets. We did see some savings in the QPM contract versus Rosetta. So that's been baked in. We're going to see a full year of the savings in 2025. That's offset by the cost of Rainmaker, which is slightly higher on a contract basis than we had with Sunrise. So there's a little bit of an offset there. I'm sorry. Utilities is your basic gas, electric, internet, and that is projected at $37.98 per house, or $387,000 for the year. That's approximately a 6% increase year over year, 6.4% increase year over year, which again is not unusual and not untoward. The last category, repairs and maintenance, is the bugaboo. Okay, that's the big item. So there we see the total grouping is $114.75 per house per month, which is inclusive of approximately $1 million total remediation costs throughout the community. Dead grass, dead shrubs, dead palms, so on and so forth. So those costs, we have, for lack of a better term, a ballpark estimate of where they're going to land. Okay. And that was the 114.75. So at the end of the day, the total operating expenses inclusive of remediation is $413. I'm going to round it up to $413. That's going to be offset by the $12.67 in income against the operating expense. So net operating assessment would be $400.32. And then to that, you would add the $50 reserve assessment. So the monthly would be $450.32, which is an 18% increase over 2024. Now, looking at the various line, and we can go through each of the schedules if you want to talk about it, but if you want to ask some questions before we move forward.
I'm just curious, with the landscape and irrigation repairs going quarter to quarter, is the thought that by end of Q2, we would have a lot accomplished that we can decrease for Q3 and 4?
Okay. And the answer to that, from a financial, just looking at the finances, and I'm not a P&G guy, but just looking at the finances, I'm going to say no. Because in order to affect the remediation, you need upfront working capital, which we don't have. We don't have enough. Also, the remediation that was affected from our visit from Milton depleted some working capital. My estimate was about $100 a house is what we spent, or either going to spend or have spent on Milton remediation, that somehow needs to be replenished one way or the other. And we can take a couple of different tacks in that. We could talk about that as well. But that $100 a house, or $85,000 was spent, and it depleted our resources to go into next year, and that needs to be taken into account, right? Plus I would imagine that a lot of the again, I'm a complete civilian on this, but I would imagine that a lot of the landscape, it's best done in the springtime, in the early springtime, which is your typical planting season. I'm still in northeast mode, okay? So, okay. I'll leave that to the experts.
So, to your point, right? And this is going to be the hardest decision that we have to make when it comes to budget, right? Because this doesn't get everything done. This gets pretty much the front yards done, and it gets a good start on shrubbery and tree replacements. And it gets a good start on irrigation. But that doesn't even start to address the backyards, right? And just if you look at what we currently have, we've done 23 homes at an average cost of $2,800 a home, right? And the severity of the yards as we start addressing them is going to decrease, right? So you would expect that average number to drop.
You would think.
So let's just say from after the worst ones, we cut that cost in half, $1,400. That in and of itself is another $496,000, which eats up every bit of the increase that you baked in here for.
Right. And to your point, in 24, what we've spent so far, what we're projected to spend for the fourth quarter, we have about a $580,000 spend for 24 alone,
Right.
just on repairs, sprinkler repairs, as
Right.
well as
Right. So-
lawns and stuff.
So, I mean, we're going to have to make a choice, and that's what we got elected for. But do we choose to make remediation a 2-year project? Or do we choose to make it a 1-year project? And either decision that we make, it needs to be properly communicated to the community so that they understand that we are either going to remediate everything in 1 year, or you're going to have to continue with your patients because it's going to take us 2 years to get everything done.
You said it was 500, let's 500, half a million, let's say roughly, that we've spent in landscaping so far this year, 580,000, right?
Total, not all of it was the catastrophic. Some of it was normal
Okay,
bushes
so
die and you
if it's
replace them and stuff.
85, so
I say, yeah.
that's why I'm subtracting.
Yeah, so say
85,
of the
half a
575, take off 80,000, so 495.
Okay. We really need to know, like, of that, what do we get for that 495 of the 850 homes? Is it really just 23, or we need to know, like, are we dealing with a mouse or an elephant, or, somewhere in between? So pick up
It's an elephant.
Yeah, okay. But we need to make an assessment of where that 500,000 was spent on, and do we have to spend any more on what we spent on those 500,000?
I mean, I think that's a good point, and I think we can get there. But if you simply look at the work that we know of today, right, which would be the yard remediation, the plant remediation, and the yard includes both front and back, right? Not just fronts, but front and back. And when you add those things together, based on our current averages and what we know we have to remediate, that's $1 million all in, right? Which is about $400,000 more than you baked into the budget. And again, I'm okay with any direction the board wants to take, as long as the community understands that we're either trying to get it all done in 1 year, or they're going to have to continue with their patients because it's going to take us 2 years to get it done.
Right. Now, there is some benefit to taking a longer timeline to affecting everything, because it might give us the opportunity to find, say, a more cost-effective way of remediating backyards rather than replacing sod. And that could be through plugs or seeds or what have you. And again, I'm a civilian here with this, but
This line item in 2024 includes those invoices from 2023.
so that's not even as high as it.
Right, so all those invoices that we got in from.
The sunrise.
But did we expense them, or did we hang them up on a balance sheet? They were expensed? Okay.
So this is a 2023 and 2024 in some sense. So I would say in 2024, it's more like 379.
Okay. Of the catastrophic repairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So to address your question, Ed, we're looking at an additional $40 per month per household to address the 400,000 delta.
If our strategy is to get it done in
Right,
one
exactly.
year. Right.
right.
And that's not even getting it done because all that money is not available come January 1st or even March 1st or even June 1st. I mean, it's spread out.
Correct. And Colleen and I are actually looking at a couple of things. We're thinking that some of our just looking at the ledgers for the last couple of weeks. I've only had an opportunity the last 6 weeks. And even then, our books are incomplete within Vanica, so I have to go on old printouts. But it at first glance, it appears that on a working capital basis, we're way under levered. And by that, I mean, the typical measure of a company's or any association's financial health is what's called a quick ratio, or working capital is a measurement of current assets minus current liabilities, right? The ability to pay things that are due currently. We're currently at a little over $1.40, $1.30 or $1.40, meaning we have $1.30 in assets to cover $1 in liabilities. So we're a bit under levered there. And I need a little bit more time. We need a little bit more time to examine the ebbs and flows of cash and expenditures to determine what is a comfortable level. I think that just I don't want to put a number out right now, but there is some money to be mined there, right? So that would offset some of this. We could probably reduce the cash needs for next year with some of that. And then also for the current year, we do have, it looks like we are going to come into an unspent excess for 2024, which to preserve our 501c3 status, we will have to do one or the other, either dedicate it to reserves or say it's a timing issue. It's to pay items that are ongoing and part of our mission statement, which we would then spend in 2025, right? So we pull that into 2025 as well, which would reduce the monthly assessment, because we would consider that.
We drew down some of the reserves, didn't we? Do we anticipate, I mean, can't we refund some of the reserves?
No, everything's been coming out of operating cash right now. None of the reserves have been drawn down. Okay. So everything's been coming out of operating cash because there's been sufficient enough liquidity to do so for what we've spent. So we're okay there.
Is another option, since we know we're going to spend that, is maybe negotiate with a Rainmaker and say, we know we're going to have so much business, just hand over that amount of money and then have it as a credit on our balance sheet from a tax perspective?
No, if we've accrued the expense and they rebate us to in next year, say in 2025, as a part of negotiations that occurred in 2025, it's a 25 item, not a 24 item.
So we can't prepay an expense in 2024?
That all it does is hang it up on the balance sheet. Does nothing for this.
I'm talking about the tax implications that you were.
Okay, then I misunderstood.
You're saying that if we have too much money left at the end of the year, it affects our tax status, right?
We are permitted, there is a certain amount of leeway that you're permitted to keep to have an excess
About
year over year. It's about
10%, right.
there is no set percentage, but the generally accepted number that is understood by the community is about 10%. Okay. So for us at last year, we were at $3.5 million. Okay. So that would be $350,000 excess is what we'd be permitted. However, the IRS also looks at trends and history. So you can't say, oh, we were 10% this year, 10% next year, 10%. You can't keep building up. You can't keep building up an unspent or can't keep building up like a retained equity, as it were. At some point in time, we have to get it to zero or close to zero. Okay.
But now with the properly funded reserves, right? we ought
No,
to be.
reserves is separate.
I
That's
understand,
all-
but I'm
right.
just saying, we should be able to be more conservative on the assessment, knowing that we have the proper funds we need to fix reserve
Correct.
items in the future.
Correct.
We don't need to build a big buffer because we're going to have
It's
the
entirely
reserve.
possible. Yes, yes, that is entirely possible. The so just taking a look at the what's been proposed for next year and comparing it to the last 2 years and trying to come up with a number that says what is our true run rate? What does it cost to keep the lights open and keep us at a steady state with the amenities that we all bought into, right? And when I do that, actually, let's see where my number is. Okay. So if it approximately of the $400 that's being proposed as an operating assessment, and can I ask you just to flip to the second page of my, so that everyone can see it? There we go. Okay. Okay, so on an operating basis. All right. Okay, so on an operating basis, our 2024 assessments were 363. 364 for operations, 17 for reserves, or 380 total. That's our monthly pay. And what's for next year, our projected operations would be about $400, which includes the remediation expenses that we just discussed, the $50 reserve assessment, which was already voted upon that we wanted to top up, so that the total of the monthly assessment would be $450. So if I back out of the $400.32, that amount of money, which we can trace to remediation, which is not ongoing. These are special items. These are non-recurring items. If we take that out, then the 400 becomes 327.31. Compare that to the 293 that Pulte gave us as our original budget. Over a 3-year period, that is a 12% increase or 4% annual, which is very reasonable. So savings that we've achieved, that has been achieved by renegotiation of the management contract and moving across, and some of the other offset some of the increases to give us only a 4% year-over-year increase, which I think is pretty good. So kudos to the prior board for some of their work.
That just goes to show you that landscaping drives everything, right?
Everything. It's a killer. So one of the things that we had that I had discussed with a couple of you privately was this, with respect to these non-recurring expenses, and I'm going to lump all the remediation as non-recurring. We hope it's non-recurring. Rather than include that as part of the operations assessment. Okay. What I would suggest is that we consider for the moment calling that a special assessment. And the reason for that is that when you call it a special assessment, it puts a box around it. It's not going to increase the monthly pay at all, but it puts the box around it that says at the end of 2025, either you spent it all or you haven't spent it all, or it wasn't enough. Doesn't make a difference. It doesn't carry forward to 2026. Okay, 2026, we start anew all over again, and we fall back to the 327 number. So that would be our starting point in 2026, 327, not 400. So that's the purpose. That's the purpose for calling it a special assessment. And then we would have to sit up here in front of our neighbors and justify why we need more, which hopefully we don't. Okay, but that would be my recommendation. It amounts to, it gives us a little bit of discipline. Kind of forces us to kind of look at it a little sharper, have a little sharper pencil when we pull these up, put the numbers together, and when we spend the money. Okay.
Have we talked to QPM about what are the implications of all the logistics of getting a special assessment, the coupon book and all that? Does that increase costs as opposed to a simplified coupon book where now we know what it is? We give them a number to divide it by 12.
Okay. So in my conversation with Frank and with, I'm terrible with names. We'll stop at Frank, as I remember. In my conversations with him, from what I understand, it is not that big a deal to insert an additional line, because if you look at the coupon books, all it gives you is one number. That's it. If we want to break it out into the three numbers, they can easily break it out before it goes to the printer. We have to give them sufficient enough lead time, which we are doing with the November 21st meeting. So they should have plenty of time to get to the printer, add a line if we want to add a line, and take care of that.
So your recommendation right now is to take out the remediation funds that are
Mhm.
important to us to get the landscaping fixed
Correct.
and special assess that separately
Yes.
from the ongoing operational maintenance assessment.
Day-to-day operations. Correct.
And the value of that is that $1 million doesn't get baked into our assessments forever.
Correct. And that's the objective.
Comments on?
The only comment is that $1 million is not enough. It looks like. Front and backyards
Yeah,
and
yeah. I mean, the way,
the
Tony baked in $400,000 into the number for the remediation. I said we need another.
because I
Or-
remember from the landscape meeting, we estimated just I think it was 1.7 million just to fix the sprinkler systems.
Well, yeah, but that we can't really do that until we get the Pulte settlement, right? And if the Pulte settlement comes back in our favor, then we've got.
But if
that
we're not
money.
fixing the sprinkler systems, we're kind of chasing our tails, and that it's not watering the lawns enough, and then
True statement. True statement. And that's why when we're, and you guys started this, right? And it was brilliant. You know, when you do remediate the front yards, the first thing you do is you make sure that the irrigation's in. And that gets baked into that remediation number as irrigation repair and sod treatment for bugs and fungus and the sod itself.
Mhm.
So,
Now, the one thing we did bake, I think we did bake into it is the 77 to 73,000 for the cinch bug treatment in the springtime. So that's already been baked into our numbers. That's already been accounted for. Yeah. Now,
that was.
now
last
this
year's
does
number.
this does not include, and what we haven't considered here are any revenue opportunities that might become available to us. And this is where we kind of need to put our thinking caps on. One of which we know Ira is working on with the cable, but it's not counted here, but that could soften the blow. And we could say we want to allocate some of that to this special reserve to soften the blow to the community. Other opportunities abound with how we utilize the space within the Meridian, which I'm not going to go into here. That's a longer term project, and that is a long gestation period. But on a go forward basis, there are opportunities that we should explore.
just a quick question. These numbers include bringing the sales office up to spec for usage. Does not even include that.
No,
That-
do we have a number? Do we have a number for that?
We haven't even decided what we're going to do with it yet, Tony,
Okay,
right? Not for, we've got proposals, we've got some business case studies that were done by the Property and Grounds Group.
Mhm.
But to my knowledge, the board has never progressed that past the ideation phase.
okay. So perhaps we fold that into those plans and see if maybe there's some way that we can get someone else to pay for that, like
I think
Mexico.
the community is going to be disappointed if we don't do something there. I mean, we have
Well,
that spot, so.
I totally agree, but till we know what our budget is and the board can make a decision on how we want to proceed with it,
Right.
it's a moot point, right? So it's on our shoulders to move forward.
No, but I mean, Mario does bring up a very good point, but like you said, we have choices to make. And if we choose to do that, that may impact what we would need to do on landscaping, right? Because it's one or the other. Or we bump this number up, which may not be palatable.
Make it a special assessment. We have to use it for what we only.
Correct. That's the other restrictive piece about the special assessment. You can only spend it on what you say you're going to spend it on. And you can't move it. At the end, if there is an excess, what we can do is push it to, we can either rebate it back to the homeowners or put it into the reserves.
Tony, forgive me if I missed this in the conversation. Is there a proposed timeline to make that special assessment effective?
Well, we were certainly, what's really driving it is not accounting, it's the logistics of when do we need this, when do we need to start work? And then to build up of working capital to get things going, right? You can't, I mean, that's really what drives it more than anything else. When do you want the work to start? So, given that all the discussions I hear is that we want to start in the springtime,
Right.
then certainly we want to include it with the January coupon books
Okay.
at the very latest, I should say.
Thank you.
I got nothing else. What else you got?
I think we need to
I think that's it.
include the sales office numbers here and come up with a number. Two numbers, front yards only, and then the whole kit and caboodle.
Well, I'm pretty confident that this number here gets us our front yards done.
Okay.
I'm very confident in that. I'm also very confident it doesn't scratch the backyard yet.
Again, please.
I said, I'm also very confident that that number doesn't even start to scratch at the backyards.
But Ed, I will say that I hope we get smarter every day and we can figure a way to skin that cat a little cheaper than we do the front.
No,
So,
I
yeah,
get
yeah.
it. Totally get it. You know, we're gonna utilize it, what capital we get in the most
Mhm,
efficient way we
certainly.
can. So,
Certainly.
certainly.
What about the sales center? Do you have any preliminary numbers?
We need to get those or even just estimate. I mean,
Well, can you get those in 2 weeks?
we could ask Dan
We can,
from
we
property
can,
and
we
grounds.
can try,
Okay.
but the board has to
They
decide what
didn't
direction we
include
want to
it?
go first.
When they handed over the numbers to you, that he didn't include it.
He asked for $10,000 to correct deficiencies from 2024 building inspection. That was it.
Okay.
So in the current, I'm not even going to say that because that's incorrect. The idea that I've heard floated most is turning it into a business office for the managers and for committee work. And there is a business case that Property and Grounds has put together pursuing that. But that's still going to take some significant remodeling on the interior in order to accommodate the business office.
Right. I think to that, I hear you, Mario, but I think that is pushing us in a direction where we're going to start talking about what to do with the office, which is not the purpose of this meeting.
Correct.
And I think we should end the conversation, talk about the budget. If Dan says that 10,000 is what we need to satisfy the county, then 10,000 it is. And maybe we should have a follow-up conversation with them to ensure that that indeed satisfies the county, right, to correct those deficiencies. And then that stays quiet until such time as we're ready to start talking about what to do with that office in earnest.
Right.
Because whatever we do in there is going to affect
Over here.
exactly the other side. So it's not just that expense, it's the other side as well. So now, I think that's a much bigger conversation.
I think it is too.
I agree.
So what is your request from us at the moment?
Okay. My request would be to have a operating assessment of $327.31 monthly. A reserve assessment of $50 monthly. And a special assessment of $73 even. I'll take off the penny. $73 even for remediation, which we will have to delineate exactly what that's going to be. And that total would be $450.32 monthly.
So just to be clear, it's a special assessment monthly.
You said,
But you're gonna do the books monthly? Is that what you're asking for? Okay, I thought we had said, yeah.
so
Okay, so
We can-
I-
we can
I-
generate-
hang on. Can you explain what you just said? Because I think I
yeah, I
missed that.
lost it also.
Okay, I think she's talking about working capital, right? Upfront capital, which I think we can get some with with some leverage, right? We could do that. I think there's some that we can mine from there. So,
Yeah, I thought when you responded to Ira that it was gonna be upfront in January.
nothing would please me more as a treasurer than to get $73 times 12 times 850 all in the month of January. I think we'd have pitchforks and torches coming after us right after Christmas. Yeah. Yeah.
So this special assessment would be paid in monthly installments
yes.
of $73.
Yes. Yes.
And that would total $744,000.
The $73.
Yes. So it's still a little short of what we fully need. But we can work with
Well,
it
no.
as long as we're honest with the community on what our strategy is.
But remember, the $73, the rest of what was already asked is in the
It's
operating
in the
budget.
operating budget. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay, I can live with that.
Yes.
Can you go through those numbers again, just for the minutes?
Okay. So the monthly assessments would be $327.31 as an operating assessment, $50 as a reserve assessment, and this is monthly, and $73.01 as a special assessment. Total being $450.32. I hope my math is right. Yeah.
32 cents.
Which gets us back to the 999
Correct. For the full year.
for the full year,
Right.
which
We can work on
again,
the timing of that, because like I
which
said,
again, it's not going to get the whole job done. And we just need to make sure the community understands that.
well,
Please, please, please.
but we can work on that, because like I said, there is some leveraging available to us from 2024 and what we have in, I think, excess working capital that we can pull into that.
I'm good with that.
Okay. And create some upfront cash.
Any other comments?
I'd say let's try to get some numbers from P&G for the see what we could do with the sales office. Those are my only comments.
Okay.
And I think the issue there is to lessen the load when people need to use these offices here. And committee meetings bumps them out.
And I'm sorry, this does not include any money that we might get from Pulte,
Correct.
from the 528 letters. Okay.
550.
So it's not as bad as it looks. Okay.
Well, I do truly agree with keeping the remediation out of the standard assessment.
Right.
I think that puts the pressure on us to be fiduciarily responsible every year, not just say, oh, we already had that money in the assessment. Let's just tack 10% on it and we'll be good, right?
Right.
Because that's gone. That's the special assessments out.
Right.
And we have to look at each year based on how it stands alone.
Correct. Because then we'll look like the Pasco County Commission, which is, I think, another area that as an association, we need to go after those guys. Because I think the real estate tax bill is a bit absurd. This is a side comment. It has nothing to do with the business. But I think it would be in all of our best interests to go after them en masse.
So I guess just for everybody's benefit, then just taking that 7,301 times 12, every household will be contributing $876 roughly to bring the landscape up to spec or a one time, hopefully.
Right, right.
They'll nip it in the bud.
we can certainly show that as, we could talk about that and put that as an option for people. Some homeowners won't be able to put that all up front. Some can. Certainly if we had it all up front, then we got, starting January, shovels hit the dirt.
Just for clarification, again, I'm the civilian on the budget and things. This year's operating assessment is 363.83 per month. And you're saying we would take that and go to 327, so it's $36 less per month for
Well,
operating?
Well,
No?
because the 363 includes remediation costs.
Okay.
That would have been, if we adopted the approach we adopted today.
Right.
If we adopted it last year.
Okay.
Right. It would not be, it would be broken up into two pieces.
Okay, thank you. Hope that makes sense for other people as
Yeah.
well. Yes.
Again, I'm thinking, does the $73 extra per month really solve the problem? It's almost like you need, I divided that number by 4, get it in 4 quarterly payments up front. Like it would be an additional hit of $220 per household. If you have like on January 1st, you have an additional 220, that's a lot of work you could do.
Right.
You won't, let's say that's time.
So if you, and Mary, I know where you're going with this, and it's an issue of liquidity. So if you give, we have been absolutely swamped for the last 2 weeks, doing nothing but putting this together and also pulling together a format that's easily digestible.
Hmm.
So now that we have our infrastructure in place, we'll start to look at the more esoteric components of finance, like how much can we get out of deleveraging? How much can we pull over from 24 to 25 and so on and so forth?
Okay, so that's 187,000 in January. I bet you Rainmaker can't do $187,000 work in January, February, March. Probably takes them all that time to do it. And then another 187,000 comes in beginning of April. They work through that and so on. And we just,
Yeah, I
work
mean,
things out.
it's a true statement. That if we got it all in front, we couldn't do everything all at once.
No.
Right? It's gonna take, depending on our funding,
No.
it's gonna take either a full year to get it done or it's gonna take 2 years.
I mean, well, you also have, remember, you also have our vendors are going to be contributing working capital to us by payment terms. They're going to do the work and then they're going to submit a bill and then we're going to wait 30 days and we're going to pay them. Right. So that creates working capital. They perform the work on their dime. So it's a form of financing. Right. So you take all these into account and you got a pot of, there is a pot of cash there to get you going. The question is that big enough pot of cash? And then we need to, we'll take a look at deleveraging and what else is available to us.
okay. So I ran the numbers the different way, just taking the 73 times 850, that brings in $62,000 a month. That's a lot of work for
A lot of work.
Rainmaker. So I think we could keep it simple and keep the coupon book simple and do this. If we go with special assessment, do it that way and then work with them and have them a schedule and say, hey, this is what's coming in a month. Maximize your activity to give us the biggest bang for the buck for that.
Makes sense. I think we need to use upfront. It's gonna take them time. It's gonna take them time to mobilize and it's gonna, there's a lot of work to do, like, to make this happen.
So-
And there's a lot of planning work.
Right, and we are going to end the year with cash.
Tell me, please, if this makes sense. If you take 73 times 12 times 850, you get $744,600 for the year.
Correct.
And if Ed's estimate of $1,400 per home to get them in shape, because they're progressively, hopefully, a little better shape, that would give us over 500 homes that could be addressed. for the year.
That's about right. That's about the homes, when we did our assessment, that's about the size of the problem that we had. It wasn't all 850 homes had issues. So
Just an
that
average.
that's about, so the numbers are reasonable.
Okay, good.
Are there any last comments?
No, I'm done. Colleen, anything you want to add?
I'd just like to thank Colleen and Tony. I'm sure you put in a lot of extra hours these past few weeks. Thank you for getting this as in the simplest format you could for everyone.
So I will open up the floor to,
I think,
Resident comments?
I think Colleen was upset when I got elected because I've been hounding her and now Lori, like on texts and emails, like almost daily. Did we get this? Did we got that?
it's a lot of work. Okay, I'm willing to open up the floor for residents. You got 3 minutes if you'd like to come up, because if you just come make a line and somebody would give them a microphone so that they can be recorded.
Got it. Hi, I'm Valerie Lampinen. I live on Shipwheel Way. And I'm hearing, which is no surprise, that property and grounds is one of the biggest expenses. And I heard, quote, landscaping drives everything, it's a killer. And we're hearing about all these expenses with it. So Rainmaker was hired in part for their irrigation expertise. And the entire end of our block has been without irrigation since May. So it's been 6 months now. Work tickets have been entered. I've met with Ash, had very great conversations. I followed up with emails. Now that the rainy season has ended, our lawns are drying up and turning brown. With landscape replacement being such a large ongoing expense, can anything be done to get irrigation fixed before there are many more lawns that need to be replaced? So I'm hearing there were 500 when there was an assessment done. Our lawn looked green during the rainy season. It's not looking green anymore. If this isn't addressed soon, the need for more funds to replace more lawns is going to be huge. It seems like the only way to get irrigation fixed is to get on the sod replacement list after our lawns look terrible. And I don't want that to happen. So does the board have any plans to address this before we need to have more sod replacement? Otherwise, it's just going to be a dog chasing its tail as more of our lawns are deteriorating and looking awful. I know that's what the story is at our end of the block, except for a couple lawns that were replaced. Thank you.
Irrigation is our number one priority from a work order standpoint. The scope of the problem is very, very, very large. But every irrigation work order is getting prioritized. And we've made some good progress just in the last month, 6 weeks. All I can tell you, Valerie, is we're working on irrigation as fast as we can because that does drive everything else. We're aware of it. We're working on it.
Hello, my name is Mabel Edmonds. I live at 19753 Shipwheel Way. My first question is, what is the plan for sharing this information, especially about the increases with the community? And the reason I ask that is that I see on the agenda that came out for your meeting on November 21st to adopt the budget, it doesn't mention anything about what the proposed assessment is going to be. So, you know, if you didn't come to this meeting or if you don't see the recording, then people won't know.
Not my fault, not our fault, right? This is being recorded. It was posted. People had the opportunity to come. This will be sent out to the community via email with the link so everybody can hear exactly what was said at this table. If people don't take the opportunity to seek the information, the board's not responsible for
But
it.
we do,
Well,
mail out the budget also. I mean,
Yeah,
the
that was
proposed
going-
budget. So everybody will come with a copy of the proposed budget.
That's why I asked, what's the plan to share information? Because as some of us know, the Florida state statute regarding HOAs does indicate.
Well, that's a different question. right?
I don't really think so.
No, because we will properly notice the meeting
Well, you
we-
did because it's 21
and,
days.
and
Yeah.
everybody will
Yeah,
get a copy of
21st.
the proposed budget,
Okay.
right? When they come into the meeting, so they can see it, they can look at it. We're going to do everything that's legally required from a notification perspective.
Okay.
But as far as a general communication from the board of directors, we're doing that right now. We are making a video so that everybody can see everything that we're doing.
Well, I beg to differ.
Okay.
Bob Bloomfield, 19091 Coastal Shore Terrace. It sounds like the proposal is 450.32 one way or the other with the special assessment or without the special assessment. Problem I have with that is we just passed an amendment for the or passed for the reserve assessment, and the whole premise behind that was to avoid special assessments, enabling it a special.
Okay, well, can I answer that one? All right. So Bob, it's a double-edged sword. Okay, so it's a double-edged sword. The vote to not have a special assessment was specifically on capital items only. These are not capital items. Let me finish. These are not capital items. Number two, to vote, to say that we voted that we're not going to have a special assessment, okay, you're taking away a very vital and essential tool of the board necessary to perform its fiduciary responsibilities. To wit, if Milton were worse and we wound up having to expend $250 or $300 or $400,000 because the damage was that substantial, and we do have a fairly high deductible on our insurance policy, well, then a special assessment would absolutely be required at that point if we didn't have sufficient enough funds. So to say that we will never have a special,
I'm not saying
assessment-
never have a special assessment. What I'm saying is
the purpose of this one is to impart a fiscal discipline. That's the reason for it. To impart a fiscal discipline. We say we're going to do X, Y, and Z to remediate longstanding problems with irrigation, with grass, with dead bushes and what have you. And we're only going to spend it on that and nothing else. If we don't spend all of this on that, if we don't need to spend all of this, then we rebate it back.
and I'm
It's
not
as simple as
saying no special assessments, because yes, you need to be able to have special assessments. But obviously we just passed, and that was the whole premonition. And then the first year, we're already doing a special assessment. Number two, educating the community when they see special assessment. Yes, they have the video, but educating the community that this special assessment and why we're having a special assessment. And number three, someone buying a home doesn't know why that's special assessment. They just know there's a special assessment. And people don't like to see special assessments in HOA communities. And so that's my objection to it. That's all. It's the numbers are 450.32 either way. So my objection is calling it a special assessment and not including it in the operating budget. And I'm asking that you consider that as far as the community and as far as real estate is concerned.
Take it under advisement.
My name is Anita Todd. I live on Bay Tide Court. Again, a special assessment. My understanding on special assessments is it should be something like an unplanned thing at the budget year. For instance, Milton. Anyway, that's the best example. To me, if you know of expenses coming up in the prior year, it would be your fiduciary responsibility to include it in the budget and not a special assessment. That way, members would know exactly what they're expected to pay for on a monthly basis, not how much, oh, we got to have a special assessment now. Now we need another $85 a month for the rest of the year. That's my problem with special assessments. As far as keeping it in a box so you don't always add to the next year, again, a fiduciary responsibility for the budget would be starting at a zero budget each year, adding all your contracts, all of what you expect to do like you're doing now. It's not to be putting special assessments every time you have this remediation. And Mario, what's the 500 homes needing remediation for? What's that's about?
That's I have to look at it exactly, but that's when we went through and looked at all the yards and we made that assessment. it wasn't all 850 homes that actually that had a problem with their front yards.
It was 386 yards, of which we have 331 left to go.
Okay. But that was for the chinch bugs, the chinch bug
No,
issues.
But also, they're not included in that. It's just regular lawn maintenance issues as well for the backyards. I mean, so it's about 500 homes.
Yeah. I've been here 3 years and it seems like every year something major is happening with our irrigation and landscape because our community HOA is responsible for it. I don't think that that's going to change year after year after year. You're going to have it year after year after year. And I would suggest you put it in the monthly assessments instead of going to special assessments 2 times a year, 3 times a year. I like to budget better than that. And that's why I didn't move into a condo, because I felt that an HOA would manage it better than having special assessments like condos do. Let me see. Oh, on the bistro, how was it determined that they needed another full-time person on the bistro? Is it just taking what Kelly gives you? Do they know what point of sales per hour they have on the bistro? I don't come up to the bistro that much, but every time I come up there, they seem to be twiddling their thumbs, except on special events. So do we need to take a second look at what the bistro, maybe they could become a revenue source instead of a zero budget.
We will
Thank you.
Take that under advisement. Thank you.
Anita, I just wanted to make one comment for the community. As far as irrigation, I think we can all agree that our prior vendors did not do a sufficient job here in maintaining. And right off the bat, in Rainmaker, and I'm not lauding them, I'm just saying they started in June, a month before they officially started to look at irrigation. We were told that close to 80%, maybe more, of the heads and the sprinklers were installed too low. So we have to pay. I mean, it's not, to have the irrigation fixed on almost everyone's property. That's what we came into. We didn't know what was going on before because the prior companies didn't even share this with us. So there is a large expense to get us up to where we need to be. And I'm sure there'll be more to follow from Pulte and all that, but just so everyone understands why we need this money.
And again, that is a point of litigation also, but we don't know. There's no guarantee of whether the litigation is going to come out.
Yeah, there are some things we cannot fix unless we want to pull back the request from Pulte. Because that's what our lawyer has said. If we fix it ourselves before we give them the opportunity to respond, then we basically own it.
I think it's already on.
Hi, Robert Lasasso on Sailor's Delight Pass. I just got to asking questions. Now, the total assessment for January 1st would be 450.32. Hello? 450.32. Closer.
Like this.
430.
Like this.
450.32.
Like this, sir.
Hello? 450.32 is the total assessment, including the special assessment, right? Whatever. Okay. We still have money coming from Pulte? The question is, do we still have money coming from Pulte for any of this stuff?
It's in litigation. We don't know.
That's in litigation. Most of the problems that I'm hearing or experiencing, I understand sprinkler systems because they go bad and all that, but what about chinch bugs and all? Isn't that covered by the company that was responsible for taking care of the lawns previously? Shouldn't they give us some money back for that because aren't they responsible?
That's in litigation.
That's in litigation. Okay. Tony alluded to the cabling monies. If we get something from whoever, Spectrum or whatever, that could be a sizable amount into hundreds of thousands of dollars. What is that money going to be used?
Okay, a budget is not pulled together based upon, I hope this money comes in or I wish it comes in.
Well, it will.
When it, no, nothing's firm because the community has not voted on the cable contract.
Okay,
So if the community shoots it down, we're never going to see that money. I don't build that into the budget.
okay,
If and when we do receive it, then this board will consider what to do with that money. Either to lower the special assessment, to top up reserves and reduce that assessment, rebate it back to homeowners, or reduce the operational assessment, one or the other. The fact is, one way or the other, you will see the impact of that.
okay,
How and in what form is to be determined.
okay. And the other avenues, the other areas too, where we can get some revenue, are there any areas, I'm not familiar with the whole property, the entire Del Webb community. Are there any areas that are far out there so that possibly, you get about $40,000 for cell towers, which nobody could see? Or, that's, not that I'm saying that's what you should do, but to get.
And to that, I'm going to say that is outside the scope of the finance committee. And I would say if you do have ideas, and I would encourage you then to attend or become part of Property and Grounds and bring this up. I'm sure they'd be very happy to hear these ideas.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Basil McKinney on Seaglass Circle. Couple of things to come to mind. I had a discussion with Ed a couple months ago regarding the Florida Highway Patrol and when it was going to come about. I just wonder if it's anything in the budget this year proposed to pay for the Florida Highway Patrol, because I'm tired of living on the Audubon, and Tony's talking about insurance costs, and somebody's going to get killed, because I had one yesterday at least 70 miles an hour going down there. I don't know whether it's an Amazon delivery guy, but something has got to be done before my estate owns this community, because we did not, or anybody else's estate, because we did not take action to stop the speeders. It is ridiculous. All of you guys, none of you live on Seaglass. None of you. Come stay at my house for a day and just look at it. And I walk out there all day long. I get the bird flipped at me all day long. I'm so tired of it because they don't care. It's really bad.
It's a valid point.
Number two, this has been hard for me because it sort of goes against my grain, but all of these people that have these chinch bugs lawns, they have a right to have their lawn looking good, not waiting until we get the money. They should all be done now, because not doing it is hurting all of our values, because people drive in here, what few are out there buying today, and they see these lawns. What's that? Everybody has a right. If we got to do a special assessment blanket, get it done, get it done. So everybody looks, can't wait for money to come in. It's just needs to get done. I know Ira and I have had discussions about Rainmaker. The replanting of these trees, or whatever they did with these trees after the storm. It appears and I looked at every single one. Ira and I had a difference in count of maybe like 10. Almost every single one was put back in the ground without any root ball administration. Some have been put back in the ground with no irrigation. They're just empty hoses lying there. I hope that we're going to hold these guys accountable. Rainmaker has never been my favorite company. Today I pulled out a contractor bag of 2 different types of weed in my backyard alone. If they're not going to do it, then find somebody else. I mean, it's just, I saw another new company coming in here today to take care of somebody else.
Basil, that's off scope. That's not budget. So we can have that discussion outside of the budget conversation. I'm very happy to have that conversation on Tuesday.
Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Basil.
Basil did bring up a point about the safety committee. What was the budget item from the safety recommendations, and does it cover?
Bumps, they said the prior board not interested, so they didn't put a number in. Reconsider or cancel is what it says. Crosswalks, board not interested.
Next.
I think we need to put in the 14K.
I agree.
Okay. Can you
Okay.
come back to us with that, adding the 14K?
And just to be clear, the person that
Do you,
was,
do you agree, Ira? No, 14K was
14,
for the year, right?
yeah.
Yeah. For the, wait, for the rent.